We're starting. Okay. Everybody got the notification?
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Okay. How is everybody doing? How's the day?
Dude, we're well rested.
Well rested? I bet. How you doing, Garik?
Got a pretty good. Got a little workout in. Did a little bit of tanning. See how dark I am.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dog.
Yeah, me too. Look at this in Florida.
Yeah. Y'all look like Moses from the Book of Enoch out here.
You mean Noah?
We say that while
Noah. My bad. Yeah, Noah.
Look at
Noah.
The color of the angels.
Albino looking. Hey, how are y'all ready for this fight Saturday?
I am, dude. I'm excited. I told Len, I was like, listen, there's a fight. You go do whatever you want to do. It's like, I'm gonna be on that couch right over there.
Leave me alone.
Watch it. Yeah. I told her, I was like, I'm gonna go get some Subway. I'm gonna you don't gotta cook for me. You gotta do Jack. I'm gonna just be sitting there.
I'm super excited for it. This is gonna be good. Okay, Tyson Fury versus Dylan White. It's gonna be a fight to see.
Obviously, we all have Fury, right? There's no
way.
There's no way one of us got it.
Sure,
you got
for
Fury?
sure. For sure.
Right. Are any of y'all actually putting money down?
I can't in the state of Florida. So if the odds are good, I'll tell you to put it down for me.
Okay.
But
I mean, that sounds good.
But I can't.
I was thinking about it, but I promised Sophia that I wouldn't do that anymore. So.
Oh.
I guess she wasn't a fan of that. Of no surprise, though, right?
And then there's yet to. She's definitely not a fan, but she's yet to tell me not to.
Yeah.
So.
Nah, yeah. Garik, what you been up to, son?
Working out, tanning.
Just whatever today was.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
there we go. Yeah. Take it day by day.
Yeah, there you go. I like the peach fuzz.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you gonna grow out the stash?
I'm actually trying to grow it out. I got like this. I have like a little beard oil that I'm using. I don't know how it's working, but we'll see.
Do you have the roller too? It's like a spiky roller.
No, I don't use that.
Dude, it doesn't work, by the way. But
that blood.
To be honest, the beard oil didn't work either. The pills, though, I think the pills worked. Either that or I hit puberty after I took them. So
you're taking pills too?
I never tried them.
I did whenever I was trying to grow really hard. Yeah, and then my chest hair just started popping out. I hated it. So I stopped taking the pills because apparently it makes everywhere grow, not just.
It's like, what's it called? It's like going through puberty. You're like, oh, my voice is gonna get deeper. My beard is gonna come out. Boom, booty hair.
Nah, that was like we all had that at the age of like 10.
Yeah,
bro.
Sadly, yes, that is very true.
Nah.
No, okay, but Ladna, you guys want to just dive into it then? Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Before that, Garik, I know you have to be going. So, how much do you have? How long are you going to be with us?
Honestly, I don't know, till like 6. I don't know.
So 6.
How long are you expecting it?
I mean, typically, mine have been almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, but it really don't matter. With us 3, I'm sure we'll last at least an hour and a half, at least.
But I feel like we can make it short. We can make it 40 minutes if need be.
I mean, yeah, for sure, yeah. If you gotta go, just holler and then dip.
Let's try to do it around 6. Just try.
Okay, for sure, let's do it. Do you have anything? Will you be able to go on after? Yeah. Okay, we'll see where the conversation leads then. So, I guess I wanted to start with the Bible as a world literature. But before we start that, have y'all had any thoughts throughout the week? Any discussions? Y'all been reading anything interesting?
Let's see. Reading interesting? No, I mean.
Me neither.
What's that?
Oh. The book of the Bible, dog?
Well, yeah, but which one? Like, I can't think of the name of it that I'm reading right now. Anyway.
There's only 66 of them. You got it. I believe you.
No, some of these names, especially in English, bro, like I've never even heard of them when I'm starting reading. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, what? Anyway,
Okay.
but it's one of those that it's just, I don't know. There's nothing really like interesting. It's just kind of something I got to get through, you know? So
Sadly, yeah.
yeah. It'd be like
Yeah.
that sometimes. So
It really do. What about you, Garik? Y'all doing any Bible
I'm in-
studies?
Sadly, no. I think we have a new couple here that just moved.
Okay.
And there's like a woman that's doing the stuff with the females. But the dude, he's like back where he was from. He's like he used to lead youth and be like a youth leader and stuff. So
Okay.
he might be interested in doing something.
is
Soon.
that
Very
the
nice.
dude who he works on helicopters?
Yeah.
He seems
Whoa.
like he seems like a cool dude.
He's really cool. I like him.
And then I wanted when I like left, I asked Dion or Garik or Ilarion to just all do it together. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like on one person's shoulders for them.
Yeah.
Like just do it all together. But here they are, not doing anything.
Dang. Where's the couple from?
California.
Oh, is that the couple with the daughter? With the short little girl?
No, they have like 3 daughters and 1 son, or 2 daughters and 2 sons. I don't know.
Dang.
Yeah. Very nice. No, okay. Well,
Blessed.
what's it called? Yeah, what are you reading, Garik?
I'm in Second Chronicles, and it's not interesting at all.
No?
I'm just reading.
Dang. Just to
I
get
mean,
it
it's
over with
just-
too?
Here's a king. He ruled this much, and he died, and he was buried with his fathers. Here's the king. He was born. He died. That's it. Like every
I
chapter.
guess. That is fair.
But, yeah.
Garik's reading a lot of marketing books. So Garik's doing
Is it? Are you?
a lot of
Actually,
marketing
I'm not.
TikToks.
I need to.
TikToks? Yeah, there you go.
Marketing
That's what it is.
TikToks.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think that like people learn more from like social media stuff nowadays than they do from books?
Oh, I think so.
I'd say no,
Really? I gotta go with Mark on
because
this.
TikTok's about like being fast and quick and getting your attention. So they always sugarcoat stuff. I'd say if you want like actual knowledge, you'd get a book and it goes through like if you're actually dedicated. But like TikTok, it's more just to grab your attention, give you that good stuff. Besides all the other stuff that comes with it.
Mhm.
I don't know.
To me, I feel like in this social media stuff, like take TikTok as the example, it's quick information that you pretty much want to hear, right? Not the long, boring stuff that just you tend to take out of your mind
That
when
you
you
actually
read.
need to know.
Right. So they're like going through all this like backstory about this, and this. Like, dude, just give me the tax code and how much I can save. I'm good to go. You know what I mean? That type of deal. Because if you're telling me like, oh, but you have to have like this, I'm gonna forget about whatever I was there for, So even if I'm reading a book, half the time I won't even remember what I just read. But on TikTok, like you said, they grab your attention. And then I'm like, oh snap, y'all heard about this. You know what I mean? Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? Blah, 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 blah. I feel like I learn more that way. If it's interesting, but if books aren't necessarily interesting for me, so I'm just kind of like,
What's it called? I for sure agree with M, just on the fact that that it's all concise factoids, that it just hits you right there, boom, it's there. But I also kind of want to agree with Garik. It all kind of depends on who you're following, because not everybody follows those financial aid pages and whatnot. Most of them are just there for just the fun or just a laugh or two. So
I'm following on dude on TikTok. He's trying to be Tesla's rival.
Oh.
Yeah. Guess what his name is?
Elon Musk.
No. The company's name. My fault. The company's name.
Oh, I don't know, bro.
Edison Motors.
No way.
Like Tesla and then Edison.
Really?
He has a company hat that says stealing Tesla's ideas, and it's like marked out of Tesla. So what he's doing, he's a truck driver, and he's making electric trucks.
Oh.
Yeah, because he bought Teslas like how long ago, dude? I think we were still in high school when that came out,
Yeah.
And still not here. And dude was like, you know what? I'm fed up. So he's buying very, very old trucks that, you know, the ones that last very, very long. And he's making, it's pretty much kind of like a hybrid type deal.
Yeah.
And dude, solid stuff so far. But he's
Really?
just starting. It's just funny to me, the whole Edison Motors thing. Most
That's
people I
very
follow
clever.
on TikTok are all just like business gurus and that type of jazz.
Yeah.
And then I have Garik or Vel, everybody out there just send me some stuff on TikTok that's like funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what most of my Instagram stuff is. It's more of like all the finances and fitness stuff.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I follow some tax people too because I'm trying
You
to
need
figure
to.
out how to not pay money. You know.
Yeah, right? Facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that. Okay.
So it's a good
you
thing.
guys.
Yeah.
Let's is Garik laggy to you or no?
Not really. He kind of like he's late a little whenever you talk. Oh
Okay.
yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Because I was thinking maybe it's just me.
How is it now? No?
Yeah, you're not seeing.
Guys, hold on.
What happened with the whole MacBook? Did it not work on it? What were you saying?
He's not in here anymore.
He just dipped.
He had to go to Spevco, man.
Right? Already. Oh, you really did? I'm assuming he just come back. Well, shoot. Damn.
How's the marketing there? Not the marketing. The other job thing that you were trying to do. You going anywhere yet?
Just like a bunch of interviews that
Wow.
came out of nowhere. That got nowhere, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. We're still applying, still waiting, still maybe seeing. Yeah, you're a lot better now, Garik. I don't know what you do.
I'm like flipped now. Anyways.
But you're good on my side.
Yeah, you look solid now, bro.
Yeah, G. Super like
you glowing.
you glowing, yeah, you are glowing.
Full HD, 4K, man.
It's a good quality. Okay, Labna, you guys, let's we
Are you
only
guys
already
being
have like 40.
sarcastic or is it actually good?
No, for real, for
No,
real.
you genuinely
Okay.
4K, bro.
Yeah. Okay, Bible as a world literature or a world book. Recently, I was listening to JRE, and he had a guy on there, and they very shortly talked about the Bible, and you know how the Bible wasn't, or the first kind of literature or first scripture or first even writing wasn't a biblical scroll, you know?
Mhm.
The Bible isn't something that is the original of anything. And one of the examples was the story of Gilgamesh. I don't know if we know of this story. Do you guys know about it? Maybe of it.
Oh, yeah.
Of it, Garik.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I saw that
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Okay. So some people are saying that the history, or not the history, but the story of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest stories. This is already predating the Bible, and in that story, it talks about this one guy and his wife that outlived the flood, world flood, and he kind of had this eternal life, and then they quickly mentioned the Bible and say, well, the Bible probably most likely got the flood story from that story because it was the first textual evidence that we have of the flood or of these things. So my, I guess, not point of view, but a question or like a follow up would be, since the Bible isn't the first text, like the flood isn't the first time we hear it. We hear it from other different kind of world views and world religions. How do we feel about that? How do we not connect to the Bible, but how do we come to the Bible now, knowing that it's most likely not original in its stories?
In my personal opinion, it's more like lots of stories in the Bible or stories in other religions. You'll see them. They're very, very similar. And that makes sense if you talk about the lineage of the Bible, right? Let's say you go down to like Abraham and his two sons, right? We get talk about Adam and Eve and then their two sons, right? I mean, obviously one died, but and then after him, his two sons. There was always a split between like lots of families, right? There was one that went down one path, which said, went with God, and the other one went down another path. It's very easy to say because the very beginning of them, it was more of just word to mouth type stories. Oh, this happened or that happened. It wasn't written. This happened, that happened. And we all know broken telephone, right? That's broken telephone is proven, man, from Adam to Eve. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
the very first two people. So to say that one was talking about, Gilgamesh about this story, maybe it was like a heroic story that they were telling their kids, like, oh, hey, he outlived this flood and blah, 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 blah. When in reality, it was just kind of like, what I mean? They were just trying to tell the story of the flood at the very beginning of time. You get what I'm saying? So in my opinion, like there are definitely going to be similarities and stories throughout other world religions. And that's fair to say, given we all root from one single, I'll say family, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't bug me too much, especially with the research I've done about the Bible with whole like, textual, not criticism, but I'll figure out the word. So I'll go ahead, Garik, do a little more. But
I mean, I can't really say too much. I don't really know about that story. You were saying that what was your last point again?
My point was, how do we come to the Bible now, knowing that this story most likely was taken from the story of Gilgamesh, or maybe we see that it's not the original story of the flood, but there is already history before it.
So how do we take the Bible, or
Yeah,
in
like
terms of the flood? You mean?
not necessarily in terms of the flood, but in the fact of that it's not the original text, or not necessarily not the original text, but it's not the first text that we hear of, like the flood, or we hear of all these different things. So we kind of have a feeling, or maybe we read and see like, well, this was kind of taken from this faith, and then we read another story and we're like, well, this other culture did it the exact same way, except they did it for their god. They did it for their gods. So interesting. Maybe this book isn't as honest or as true as it is. Maybe it's not as factual as it is. Maybe there's something, I don't know, more to it. Or do we look at it a different way? How do you look at it?
There was actually this one. He was like like those dudes that. Sorry about that.
That's
There's
okay.
There's like these dudes that I forgot his name. It's like a dude like Kent Hovind or Kent Ham, like those dudes that argue like the Bible versus whatever. And there was an argument that came about like, how do you know that Noah's Ark is true and the entire flood story and stuff? And I kind of look at it as a good thing, because like you can use it to validate the fact that there were so many people around the same exact time period that said the same exact thing. Maybe there's a few things that changed. But like if there was everybody talking about it, then it gives more proof that it might have been true. So you can kind of look at it as a good thing, that there was other people that are talking about the same thing, although it might not be exactly the same. So I guess, I don't know, I look at it as a positive thing, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm glad he mentioned that. That's called textual criticism. So scholars look up different, I talked about this whenever we went over like why I believe in the Bible and all that type of deal. I'm very logical. If it logically didn't make sense to me, or like I can feel it or see it, hard for me to believe it, which in a Christian faith is kind of like you contradict yourself, you know what I'm saying? But that's why I had a hard time with it, I wouldn't say a hard time, but it didn't sit right with me sometimes, growing up. And whenever I look at the Bible, like translations, broken telephone, that type of deal, you know what I mean? It was always like, I was a little skeptical. And to me, what really helped is this whole textual criticism. So they take things as if like other eyewitness accounts, they take into how things looked during that period, and if the people were writing that same way or talking about it in a manner that sits well in that time period, they can take it as like not necessarily fact, but as a historic and proven eyewitness account where it's like, that's true, that actually happened. And if you look at the Bible, it has one of the highest scores of textual criticism. That's why nowadays in college, they teach about Jesus Christ. Because like I mentioned in that thing, Jesus Christ was, there's so many eyewitness accounts and so many things written about him in the same time period with high textual criticism, like of these scholars, or you can actually say like these scientists, you know what I mean? They're literally using pretty much like a scientific method to make sure that this is all true. So I'd even argue to say like these scientists are proving that the Bible itself has a more, the history of it has higher textual criticism than most books out there. I can't tell you way before Jesus Christ, but I can tell you that if you don't believe in that Jesus Christ was a real person, and then you can't believe, I think it was the most popular king of that time during Jesus' time period. He has
talking
less.
about the Roman Empire, or like the emperor.
The emperor. There we go. He has less eyewitness accounts than Jesus Christ did. So to me, it's like if you don't believe that part, you can't believe the rest of history in general, because he has, you know what I'm saying? So textual criticism is a big thing, and I'm glad Garik mentioned that. So the more people talk about it, and we see these stories everywhere else, kind of brings it down to, like he was saying, kind of had to have happened. You know what I mean? Whether
So
who did it come from? You know,
I for sure, for sure agreed on the fact that, you know, the more eyewitnesses, the better, and this is in a form of, you know, more eyewitnesses, just more faiths that believe this. So my, I guess, follow-up question to that would be then, what makes the Bible better than these other books? And not the Bible, but let's say the Old Testament. Let's say just the Tanakh. What does make the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, better than the story, the epic story of Gilgamesh? Or maybe what makes it better than those religions that the Egyptians followed? Because in their, you know, viewpoints and in their mythology and their kind of ideas was, whenever the flood happened, it was one of their God's wrath, just as it was in ours, you know. But for some reason, our, I guess, our point of view or our story kept on living while theirs died off. In reality, our story, our faith, our God is just as old as theirs is. It's just ours kept on living while theirs died off. So, to sum it up, question is, why is it that ours continue to live on while the other stories did not?
I guess you kind of answered it in the very last sentence.
Why?
That their God died and ours didn't.
But their God didn't die necessarily. No, it was just stopped. He stopped being worshipped in a sense, you know, or he stopped. Yeah, he stopped being worshipped. But why is it that Yahweh continued being worshipped? Just because the Jews lived?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Just
I mean, it's, to me, I don't know. When you talk about the story of like Gilgamesh, is it like do you get like a heroic story vibes? Because I don't know the actual story. So like,
I think he was like almost some god or something, or like some.
He was a quarter blood god.
Yeah, like he was created somehow, and then he was like, they got mad at him or something, and then they created some other dude to try and take him over. I read about it somewhere like not that long ago.
Very nice. Yeah, you got the.
I saw a video or like it was on Instagram or something. I remember.
Okay, that's all I
don't know where I saw it.
Well, yeah, you got the somewhat idea.
I mean, it could be down to the point of believability, right? Whether like one story is more practical than the other story. And I can't sit and say, you know, that from a non-Christian point of view, that one, it would be a lot more practical than the other. I definitely think ours would be a lot more practical, you know, given what we had, you know, God rained down. I think he's still here, his cameras or so.
Okay. Continue talking. Okay.
So in my point of view, for example, what happened in ours, God told Noah, build this ark, you know what I mean? He built it, rain started happening for the first time in history, right? So that kind of brings the believability of like the people being like, oh, you're like, you know, talking all this stuff about, oh, you know, there's no way, you know, why would we even think that's a possibility? You know what I mean? They don't know what rain is. Then it happened, you know what I mean? God pretty much foresaw the whole thing and told Noah, you know, do what you got to do. but in a story where it's like less believable, where we like it's actually the person who plays the big part of like why he survived, you know what I mean? Like half God, that type of jazz. It brings a lot, it's a lot harder to believe. You know what I'm saying? Because like I think lots of people nowadays, they can believe in an eternal being for sure.
Uh-huh.
But to tell them like, oh, you see that person over there, that's like a half God type deal, like they're going to be a lot more hesitant about it. Maybe they're not believing in God in general, you know, like Yahweh type deal, but they definitely believe in a higher power, whatever that might be. So I feel like if it comes down to that, it's more of like believability type deal, but that's just personal opinion. I can't even like, it's not something that's.
But we can kind of do a similar thing with our own faith, you know, when we see the chosen people, you know, where it's written that, you know, they are the firstborn while the rest is, you know, kind of like secondhand in a sense, you know, and then we see the priesthood that only through them, you know, at that time could you have this feeling of holiness, you know? So we have the same idea. They're not necessarily, you know, the bloodline of God, but they are his firstborn. They are special people. And then you have the priests who are holier than that of his other peers, you know? So we have the idea is the same. Well, yes, they don't have that God blood, but idea, you know? Garik, what's your view?
I'd say it comes down to like what Emik was saying, believability, but like more like faith, I guess. A lot of stuff to do with religion. It's a lot of it's faith, obviously.
Right.
So like, I don't know. I'd say like personal experiences too. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'd definitely say this one too. It'd be more of like, if you teach, like, let's say the majority of people believe that 2 + 2 is 4, and then a small group of people think that 2 + 2 is 7, which one's going to outlive, whether it be right or wrong? The
Right.
majority,
Yeah.
you know, the people
Right.
who, you know, most people believe this one way, right? So if you're talking about a religion that our story survived, our God survived, theirs didn't, maybe that's because the majority believe that or saw firsthand or have the firsthand story of how it actually went down with what God, you get what I'm saying? Like Noah went down and told his, you know, descendants, hey, this is how, you know, you guys were there. And then they told their kids and so and so and so on. And somewhere down the line, somebody was a little, went down a different path, you know, I mean, that type of jazz. So a select group of people believed it one way. And after they died and their descendants died off, there wasn't that many other people that knew about it. Whereas in this group of people who had a majority, because that was, you know, the actual story, they knew it the actual way, spread and spread and spread. So the likelihood of them dying off and the story stopping is less, I guess, believable, you know, they're less practical than the other group. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would
I
say
do.
our story sticks better, is because I'm assuming most people who were on there, like Noah's family, that type of stuff, they definitely had the ability
That's
to story.
it's a what's it called? It's an interesting viewpoint, but when you look at the history of the Jewish nation, we see that they were not in the majority. They were actually. Oh, no way. Running out of time. This meeting will end in 10 minutes. Upgrade now to remove the 40-minute limit. Are we going to have to do part twos and part threes?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, we have 10 minutes and then we're going to do this again then, yeah?
Mm.
Okay. But it's an interesting point because when you look at the Jewish nation, they were a minority throughout the entire time. The faith was a minority actually too. It's a miracle that Judaism continued to survive through all the persecution, through all the time. You know, when the Jewish nation was enslaved, many times over a period of time, that faith in the God would drop because they would be influenced by the nation that they're captive by, and their God would then replace little by little. And in that two, we can see the influence of the other world religion into the faith. Okay, so
But you were talking about the flood itself, right? Like that was the story principle.
correct.
And there was only select few survivors in both stories, and neither of them were Jews. You know what I'm saying? So for that story, it's the majority who've heard the right story. If you're talking about that, that'd be a different topic. For me, that would be what God came out on top. You know what I mean? This fake one, where God ended up showing his power to when all these people saw that, started believing again. They're like, oh snap, why were we following this God? Look how powerful this one is. You know what I mean? The true one. And then their faith started spreading again. You get what I'm saying? And then persecution, then another camp, another, nation. They're sitting in another nation as they always did. And then
Yeah,
slowly settling down, and then boom, saved again, the glory of God, blah, blah, starts spreading again. You know what I'm saying? To my point of view, that's why it's survived as long. Because once he showed his true colors to the Gentiles, you know what I mean? People who weren't Jews were like, oh my goodness. They were terrified.
yeah,
Because they knew they knew that was God. They were like, yeah, that's the God. I'm still going to go follow mine though. You know what I mean? Even though they
yeah,
knew. So in my point of view, the flood story, it was just the reason ours survived is because, there was no Jews at the time. It was just either Noah or this Gilgamesh dude. You're right. Let's say those are the two that we have. Let's say the story of Noah, whether it be, in my personal opinion, right. If it was right, it was told similarly to most people. And then we have the story of Gilgamesh that was told like the story of Gilgamesh to a select few who, after died off, nobody else continued that story. But we have this story that's so similar to all the other stories that people were telling in that time period, that's the one that survived. But if we're talking Jew people, like Jewish nations in that time period, it's because after a certain point, God always showed his power. And that's when people all surrounding, whether it be Jews or Gentiles, started believing. And then, it falls off again, and it just goes up again, it falls off again, it goes up again, it falls off again, all the way until here we are,
right.
So that would be my point of view on both of those.
Okay. Garik input.
Emik's got good points. I'd say like the kings that we had throughout all the like Jerusalem going up and down and stuff helped a lot. They spread a lot of them would actually, put God as their like primary center. Others
Yeah.
wouldn't, and you see them fail. So you could see how God was working, like what Emik basically was saying. You could see like actually him helping. And a lot of people probably noticed that. Yeah.
You could definitely contradict that with times that God decided not to help the Jews, but in the end, of all these stories that we have, Yahweh came out on top. And in my point of view, who's usually the one who gets remembered in history? The one who wins, or the one that's more popular. You know what I'm saying? So here we have the story of the one that ends up winning.
Right.
Sometimes he wasn't the most popular.
You're right. And okay, and then to the point of, let's say, not even the flood, but of different kind of situations that happened the same way. How are we to look at these different religions or these different mythologies that have the same ideas that the Bible does or the Old Testament does? They have the same stories, but instead they use their God in their favor, instead of like our God saved us, but in their story, their God saved them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do we kind of look at that? And then let's transition into the whole broken telephone of the Bible and how does that affect it? I guess effect of.
I don't really got much to say about the whole. If you're talking about the whole like why they picked their God over our God, that just kind of gets to the whole what's the difference in our religion and your religion, right? Not necessarily why they choose their God, be like, oh, he saved us and this one saved them. You know what I mean? Through the years, even, history, we've seen the Jews get, annihilated and then come back as strong as ever. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right.
we see something there, like, you know what I mean? But and that's not even something that we had to read in some scrolls, right? It's something we see through history. But for other people, why they choose their God, that I feel like that would just break down to why do we believe in ours, or rather why they believe in theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Let me then rephrase that, I guess, question in a sense. Let's pretend that I'm going to be an atheist. I was once a believer, but now I'm an atheist. The reason I am an atheist now is because I read the Bible, I read the entire story, and I saw all these similarities to these different religions, like the epic story of Gilgamesh, or like the story of Adapa, which is kind of the origin story of Adam and Eve. So then I'm going to look at the Bible and I'm going to look, oh, well, this is just like these other texts of mythologies, except this one just lived throughout because the Jewish nation repopulated like rabbits. So there's nothing special about this God than there is of those gods. There's nothing special about this religion than of those mystic religions, because this story or this faith is just as old as those are. How would you guys kind of come back to that? Or how would you not necessarily convince me, but show me a different view? Does that make sense? Did I kind of sum it decent?
Yeah, I see the question that you're trying to bring up now.
Okay.
How to answer that, so, it'd be a lot tougher for
Right.
sure. I guess it did. I would definitely bring up my points on the whole, like, popularity versus winning, and why one would survive the other. It's, most people believe this way. That's when they would survive, right? Let's say that type of deal for sure. But even that, if I was an atheist, somebody just told me my points on that, it wouldn't really win me over. Yeah, it wouldn't win me over. So how to really do that would be a very difficult question. I know, I gotta give you guys some points. Let me think about it before I say something.
I really don't. That's like a subject that's like, it's hard to speak on. I don't know. It's
beyond our pay grade.
No, not even that. People like dedicate their whole lives to that type of stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's
for sure.
They have whole arguments, so I really don't know. I mean, it's
So we have a minute 30. I'm gonna end it here, and then I'm gonna call you back so we can continue. Cheers.
sounds good.
Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of just give a quick smidge of my kind of view on it and how
Maybe that'll help
think
come
about
up with an opinion.
it. That's what I'm. Yeah, maybe or a counterpoint, which will be good too. But okay, all right, I'm gonna stop it, and then I'm gonna call you back. Cheers.
Yeah.
Sounds
All right,
good.
dope. Thank you.
Well, 12 minutes left.
Okay. So, just kind of want to share with my whole viewpoint. Oh, the screen's different now. Okay, cheers. Okay, so whenever we do come to that situation or that kind of question, that just like it's overwhelming, because like it's very good points that they have, But many times in those, when I was listening to, Joe Rogan, I was thinking, well, that's a fair point on the fact of, how do you choose this? But at the same time, I think what we a lot of times have the trouble with, or the people that lose faith in the Old Testament, is that they see this text and they're like, this has to be from the beginning, the original one. This has to be, the first text of the first text. This has to be the first mention of this story. It can't take this from this story or this from this faith and then utilize it in theirs. But I would kind of have to say that it can and it kind of must. Because, the Bible isn't the first text. It's not the first scroll. We have different original ones. The story of Gilgamesh predates our story. But our God is the first one. And like you said, when there's this whole separation, that there's going to be different point of views, but in reality, it's the same origin. It's kind of like that, but in the sense of we had God Yahweh, and then over time it kind of split, and then the two brothers Cain and Abel, not Cain, Seth, yeah, when they split, they already initially had different kind of viewpoints, different stories. But coming back to the whole the whole situation of, how do you tell somebody that this is okay, that this is right. Throughout the entire time, the Jewish nation was trying to not necessarily convince, but overpower the other gods. They're trying to make a statement that our God is greater, that our God is better, that our God is the God of gods. And how do you do that? Well, you take their stories, and where their God was a hero, you make our God a hero. And then where you see that their God was victorious, you make our God victory over them. A perfect example is, do we know the god Baal?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. In their mythology, Baal was a king that became a god. And he became a god by overcoming the serpent, the Leviathan. So
Okay.
the sea monster. And their whole epic is how he was battling this huge fight where he had a snatch its mouth shut, then slaughter it, and it was hard for him, for this god. And then we have the story of our God and the Leviathan, and in Job, for example, he says, "Who are you, Job? I created Leviathan. I made him." So we see that here. This isn't the first time you hear the story of Leviathan. This is maybe, there's another story before that. Oh, Baal. He talks about Leviathan. He beat him. Now this God is talking about him, but wait, this God is better. He created Leviathan. So there's kind of like this, I guess in a sense, hierarchy, or like you start comparing. It's like, oh, well, this God is a little bit better. So I don't know. I guess going back to the whole discussion, I wouldn't know how to answer that properly, but I would know that through the usage, that's the only way you would have to convince the other nations around you that this is the God of gods, that He is greater. But I don't think we can come to the Bible looking for that. This is the, I guess, in defiancy of the other stories, or this is, maybe some of these stories didn't even happen. Maybe they just used those other stories to make sure that they knew that this God is much more powerful than that God. When we have the story, and I'm gonna be done after this, I promise. But when we have the story, the freedom of the Jews of Egypt, you know, they went up to the mountain, and then God was furious with them. But Moses was like, "Please be patient. What are the Egyptians gonna look at you like? How are they gonna view you? You just freed your people, now you're gonna slaughter them. You know, that would be very much like their gods. But he was trying to be other. He was trying to be better. So there was, I guess, it's very beautiful too, because they also used, uh, um, I don't remember the book or the passage, but it was talking about how he overcame the gods of Egypt. You know. So I guess, could you guys add on that, maybe critique it, or maybe even contradict, well, not contradict it, but counterpoint it.
So in that sense, I guess it would work if you're trying to like convince somebody over a different religion. But like your original question was like somebody that's already tried the religions and is now an atheist. So would that work too, or would that only work for like somebody that's like believes in Baal and you're trying to convince them to get out of Baal?
That's a very good point. Many times, what I've personally found is that these people that do lose faith because of these stories, they're the ones that compare it to these other stories and be like, "Oh, well, this God is no different than that God. This story or religion is absolutely no different than of that ancient Eastern story or religion." But in actuality, it is different. It's greater. It's better, because they use their stories to overcome it, to show that this God is greater and better. And over time, I guess, uh, not a transition, but just the whole faith and believing and outliving of other faiths. Does that kind of answer, maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I personally would definitely not use any of that for the sole purpose of, then it comes back to well, if they're just taking stories, then none of it's real. God didn't do that. God didn't do that. You know what I'm saying?
But agreed. But at the same time, like what you guys said, is the more people that say these stories of the flood, the more believable it's gonna be. I forgot what you guys used, but you know, the more people that talk about it, the better it is for the belief. Maybe it's not our faith that talks about it more. Maybe it's Baal, maybe it's Gilgamesh, but we overcome it and see that this God is greater. In Baal's story, or in the Gilgamesh story, it was multiple gods that decided to use their rage and flood the earth because they were tired of the people's literally nasty smell. The people was stinky. They were stinky people, and there was this one god that was absolutely in wrath of it, and he said, "I'm gonna murder all of them." And there was the council of gods that said, "No, let's leave two, so that they can continue bringing sacrifices to us, so they can continue worshiping us," and they preserved them too. And then afterwards, the I guess the main god found out because he had that sense of sacrifice, and he got angry with the other gods. So we have that story, and then we come to our story in comparison. And our story is what? Is it any different? In all honesty, not too different. We have what? A nation, a group of people that God said these people's hearts is awful. I'm gonna send a flood, or I'm gonna allow the flood to happen. And he says to this one single family, except you, I'm gonna preserve you because you are righteous of them all. He preserves them. The flood happens. They overcome it. And then right after the flood, what do? They bring a sacrifice. This is not necessarily exactly the same story, but incredibly similar. But instead, we have in the other story wrath and vengeance and anger of the gods. And here we have one God who says, no more will this happen. I see that in reality, humanity is flawed, but I will continue to love you. And matter of fact, I'll give you a promise that I won't do this ever again. And so, as a believer of that faith, I will say, dude, that God is a lot better. I'm gonna go to it. And then, as an atheist, in this time, I say, well, okay, that's a good point. You know, their God actually overcame it. And then throughout history, this faith or our faith, it prolongs, it continues, while their faith and their gods falls apart because their gods are no better than humans in emotions.
Right, but you're bringing it in as if in that aspect that their gods did that, and the Jews just took the story and created an own God, right? That's why when I brought my point of view, I made like the 2 + 2 = 4. It was true, and the 2 + 2 = 7 not true, right? So at that point, it'd be two stories that are similar because they rooted from the same one, but one story survived because it was true. You get what I'm saying? Rather than this story that just wasn't true. But what you're saying is their story started before ours, right? And then the Jews were like, hey, how do we make our God better? Let's steal their story, not fact. You get what I'm saying? So they're just making up a story about their God doing something, right? So if I was an atheist and you told me that, I was like, so neither one of them are true, right? This God didn't do that. What good is it to me that he's better if he didn't even bring the flood? You know what I mean? Just because they took the story and made it better. You know what I'm saying?
So that's definitely a point of view. But Garik, before I go, would you like to add something, please? Or nothing. It's okay.
Not really.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't know.
Okay. Well, going back to yours, to the fact of the point of view, you know, it's like you can't, you know, at this point you're like, well, is any of this true? You know. That's where we have the evidence of all these people, of all these faiths, because we see that this, and again, we're going to go back to the flood because it's so predominant and so many mythologies. Actually, even the Native Americans in their mythology believed in the flood. The Norse mythology had a flood story, you know? So evidently, there has to have happened something in a time period where the world was flooded. And so you see these different faiths of that time, that Eastern, in the Middle East. You see, well, okay, there are all these faiths that have the same idea, but then there's this one faith that continues to this day. Why is it that it continued? Why is this God kind of greater than the rest? Then you go back into the history, and then you see, oh, so maybe he wasn't the necessarily original scripture. Maybe it wasn't the first text, but that's not what faith, our faith does. It's not we're not here to say that we're original, that we're here to say that our God is greater. And so throughout that, we kind of can see that evidence. Does that in any way answer it or no?
I think I see what you're trying to say. Are you trying to say that our God did it, but one people took it and made it a different complete story, and the other people just, the Jews decided to then go, well, not Jews, because Noah, but then Noah decided to go make it as if, the God that actually did it was greater than the God that they're making up.
Kind of, yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that'd still be difficult for me as an atheist to convince me to something. I think especially if an atheist brought up that type of point, what really kills me when talking to people who, like, let's say, don't believe in religion or are struggling with it very much, they take one thing and they run with it, right?
For
So,
sure.
like, let's say you're in an argument with somebody about like science, right? Two scientists going head to head about a certain topic, right? And to convince the other, they bring multiple points of the whole thing of the main thing they want to convince, right? And the other does the same thing, right? He doesn't just close off his mind because of one opinion. Like, the flood didn't really happen. It took it from somewhere else, right? Like, why should I believe in the God now? You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then they'll take that and then they'll just close off everything else. So whenever I'd be trying to describe that to the atheist, I'd be like, okay, let's say you're even right about that, right? Let's look at the rest of everything. They won't even want to. So to be able to convince them of that one thing is like the hardest part, because in order to get to the next step, you would have to convince them of that. Otherwise, they won't even listen to the rest of it. And even if they do, they're like, you still haven't convinced me of this. When in reality, that doesn't necessarily matter as much, right? It doesn't save or condemn. I like to bring that up all the time, especially here in Florida. I say it all the time. It's one of those things where it's like, does that story save you or condemn you, right? You believing or not believing, right? Not necessarily either, but just even saying it that way, of like, our God did it, and they took a story and ran with it. I mean, it's just the manner of saying that just brings up the question of like, how do you not know that their gods did that and our God just, they just stole our story? Because you're saying pretty much we're taking stories from other religions, making our God the winner of it, right?
Right.
So in saying that, you're not necessarily saying that, okay, our God did this, and this is what actually happened, and he actually won, or this, and this. You're just saying, here's their story, but in order to make them believe that our God's better, we're going to take it and make our God the victor, right? So to me, that just kind of makes it like, oh, so Christianity is just a bunch of other faiths lying about their God being greater. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like that definitely wouldn't be able to convince an atheist, like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna join Christianity then,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a difficult subject for sure, right? Like you play devil's advocate to anything.
Oh, for sure.
That's definitely one of those that it's like, dude, I mean, I've talked to so many people about, like atheists and not atheists about topics like this. For example, like the hardest part is not them believing Jesus Christ was real or not. It's the whole faith aspect after that, right? So like you ask anybody, have you guys ever, I actually asked somebody this, have you guys ever talked to somebody who doesn't know who Jesus is? Ever.
No.
Exactly. I've been alive for 22 years. I've never met a single person who doesn't know who Jesus is. So nowadays, it kind of brings back to the whole question of how we teach people, or how we, make people learn about Christianity. Nowadays, it's not so much as like, hey, do you know who Jesus is? You know who our Lord and Savior is? Do you know what he can do for you? They know. Now it's about answering the questions they bring up. And that's the hardest part of the whole thing, because you bring up a question like that, it's like, you can say it to where it brings in, I would say believability, but like it's definitely something that could be happening, right?
Like convincing?
Yeah, it's definitely convincing, but it also brings up 20 more questions. And it's like, it's hard to answer it in a way that it's like, okay, here's why I believe it. And it's like such a good point that they're like, okay, I don't have any other questions to go from that. But
yeah,
so, I mean, I see where you're trying to go with that. Our God did all that. he ended up winning, and these people started making up a story about this, and this. So we're gonna make our God seem greater because he was the one who actually did it.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. You got anything, Garik?
I mean, I'm just gonna say I'm not skilled enough to like answer a question like that. I'm just gonna go back to what I'm saying, that people dedicate their like whole lives to like just this type of stuff and still don't really get it super right, I guess. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, you could say that about like scientists too, right?
Exactly.
They'll dedicate their whole lives to that, and then they'll die, and a few years later, they were completely wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody during that time believed what they were saying, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you could
I
say
mean,
both
you have like the smartest dudes who will argue, like I'm gonna just say like Kent Ham, Kent Hovind type people. I'm sure there's way more, but like there will be people that argue like that, and people still won't believe them. You know, so it's like,
I mean, they'll still get stumped. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely,
yeah.
for the
So
most part,
it's
they'll
really
have
true.
an answer, but it might not just be the answer what the other people are looking for, right?
Exactly.
Like one answer for one person could be a completely different answer for another. And that brings difficulty into it too. So I get what you're saying. Very true. Very true.
Oh, okay, got it. But let's say somebody would come up to you, or you came up to in this situation, and you had that kind of somebody. I don't know. I guess stumped you with that question. How would you go about it? How would you continue the conversation of it?
I'd probably refer him to somebody more skilled than me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like, I don't have a lot of practice in that, like actually spreading, I guess, or like arguing on biblical subjects.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really bad thing to tell somebody the wrong thing if they're looking for the answers. So I probably wouldn't even feel comfortable trying to really argue somebody's point of view over something unless I'm very ready to do that. So I'd probably just point them into the right direction, somebody more skilled, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fair answer, honestly. Be like, dude, that's a great question. I don't know either. Whenever you find out, text me. Let me know. I'll look into it too. No, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like what you said it's very righteous. I believe that if we are not skilled enough, if you do not have the knowledge, just absolutely don't talk about it. But at the same time, I think that's definitely a skill and a practice that we do need to have, that we do need to hone, that we do need to, utilize, because whenever you do come in these situations, even for your own faith, I believe it's very good. You're questioning things. You're starting to, be curious. You're growing in the understanding. This is healthy. So I'm reading this book. I forget what it's called. The Old Testament is dying. That's what it's called. So either the Old Testament is dead or the Old Testament is dying, and I don't know who the author is. But the whole point of it is there was a statistic saying how the majority of believers, in actuality, have like no strength or understanding in their own faith. Like percentage wise, it is incredibly low. The other faiths have more knowledge of Christianity. And why is that? Because they have to know what they're going against, in a sense. They have to know why is it that they're not believing in that faith. I think agnostics, and I might be butchering the statistics, but I think agnostics were the people that knew the history better than that of Christians, which was incredibly sad. But he also said that those people that were on the higher ratio, that were Christians, they were doing these kind of Bible studies, or they engulfed themselves in literature 2 times a week or 3 times. The more you talk about it, the more you do these discussions, the well-rounded you become. I think that's definitely something that I personally for sure want to and strive for, and I think we all do, because we do want to get better at this kind of argument or discussion. Just discussion.
Amen.
Let's say
Amen.
discussion. That's not even. But I mean, I don't know, y'all. What any other thoughts? Because we can go into a different kind of subject. I was talking to a brother that stuck me, and I was astonished. So I do want to bring that up for y'all. But any kind of other thoughts or ideas?
I mean, I could definitely go off that one for a minute, but I feel like Garik's running out of time here with the whole having to go to quartet practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys can continue to go, I'll just
I mean, I'd like to. I still got thoughts to share.
sounds good. Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
You got nah. We appreciate you, G.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you. You got to come more often, man.
You got that 4K glow to you, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
You will bring in the views.
Right.
We got. I gotta. What's called? I gotta upgrade the thing so I don't have to do this whole periodic stuff. That was crap. But
Is
yeah.
it free or you have to pay for it?
I have no idea. This is my first time it popping up. I guess I'm not good enough for it.
Maybe they saw the first two and they were like, no.
Yeah, like, gee, stop. Don't do this. Nobody's watching. No,
Garik.
but I got it. Yeah, we're not going to keep you up. All right, спасибо, man.
Have a good
Deuces.
time. Tell everybody
Давай.
else.
For real, me too. Okay. All right, are we continuing or do we want to sidetrack to a different topic in a sense?
I'm gonna add on a little bit to what you were saying because
Go
I
ahead.
completely agree, especially what Garik said. The whole he's not like skilled enough to rebuttal, right? And that's a very good point. But the people who are bringing up the questions aren't skilled enough to be questioned. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a question for them that they bring up, but they don't have enough knowledge on it to actually be able to, let's say, go deep on it, right?
Yeah.
Some for sure do, and some might have more knowledge, more ability to question.
Whoa. Hold up. You muted or something happened. I lost you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, no. Oh, dude. I think this happened to me before.
Nothing?
Do you want to call me back or do you want to re-enter? I'm going to put myself on pause. Yeah? All right, I'm going to pause it. All right. Technical difficulties. All right. We're back. All right. Cheers.
Okay, so most people who bring up these questions, they don't have the, I'm gonna say like bag. They don't have the bag to either back up their questions or they don't have a bag of knowledge to support their question, right? So like they'll bring up a question because they heard somebody ask it. They're like, that's a good question. And they will stick on that question, whether you prove a part of that question right or wrong, they'll just stick to it because unless it's proven in a way that they want it to be proven, you know, you're not going to be able to convince them. And that's a lot of people. Most people are like that, right? So it's very difficult to talk to most people now because I wouldn't say there are lots of these people who are like, hey, you have to be open-minded or not, right? They mean that you have to be open-minded to what I believe in, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to be open-minded to what you believe in.
Yeah.
And then you call them a hypocrite and they're like, oh, that's how you you Christians always, calling us this. And it's like, dude, you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say or I wouldn't necessarily agree to just like let the experts do it because if it's an expert versus an export, you best believe I ain't gonna have nothing to say. I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna get a bag of popcorn, I'm gonna be chilling. But if it's somebody just on the street, right, to the best of my ability, I'm gonna be able to answer. And if they're like still, hey, that doesn't necessarily go where I want it to, I'll be like, listen, tell you what, let's get together a week from now, you know what I mean? Let me do some research, let me see what I can find, right? If I can't answer it at that point, you know what I mean? Maybe I can find a video that describes it better, somebody who speaks on the topic better than I can, that I can actually show this to you, right? Because I understand what I believe, but maybe it's hard for me to put it into words that will make you understand that type of deal. So I don't know necessarily like I got excited, I would just direct them to somebody else. If it's a topic I know absolutely nothing about, probably. But heck, I want to learn too. If it's a good question, let me look it up. Let me see what I can find on this topic. So that's just kind of my point of view on it.
I agree, and many times also that the people that ask this question, there's a reason why they're still at this stump. They're either not doing their due evidence, they're not looking into it deep enough, and then when you tell them like, hey, look, I got this guy, he might be able to describe it to you, and he's most likely not gonna go home and look him up. Mm-hmm. He's most likely not gonna do his own research because if he did, he most likely wouldn't be at the situation he is now.
Asking the question, right?
Exactly. So I feel like it is, in a sense, better when you have that human to human conversation. You're at the heat of the passion. You're I want an answer now, so let's get to it. So it is kind of a beauty in that sense. But yeah. But okay, bro. So what was it Easter that was right? Easter. that we had last week? Okay.
Yeah.
We had a brother that that came and he grabbed me to talk to me, and I was glad to talk.
Like physically,
And he, yeah, no,
I
no,
had some dude at church do that to me, dude. I got heated. I was like,
he was trying to fight you.
no. This is like, anyway, I'll tell the story afterwards. Let's make sure.
Are you sure? Okay. Well, he grabbed me and he was like, he asked me a question. He was like, let me ask you a cool question. Can you thank God for all the circumstances in life? I was like, well, yeah, of course, brother. Thank God for everything. And he's like, well, even for the bad moments. I was like, I mean, of course, even for the bad moments, you thank God. We have Job. And he's like, no. And he's like, you can't thank God for the bad moments because God is a God of love. He's a God of he was doing this whole like prosperity teaching, And I was like, well, all right, let's dive into this. Let's go. I was bringing up passages. He was bringing up passages, and this is nothing new, right? There's people that think this way, and then this next statement is not necessarily new either, but I wasn't ready to hear it. He was like doing all this prosperity stuff, all these good, beautiful things that were, very romantic. And then he was like, like just as nobody will go to hell, or there's no hell, that we're all gonna be in heaven because God or not God, but Jesus destroyed sin, and so nobody sins any longer. And I paused. I was like, but you don't sin ever? He's like, I can't sin. I'm a believer. Jesus died for all my sins. Son, I was beyond shook. I wanted to ask, like, my man, let me like live a day with you. Let me see how you live. There is no way you don't sin. I was like, I sin on a daily. I can't, It was just absolutely wild because I have never. It was shocking, bro.
That's a statement. That's a statement right there.
And a half. That's a statement and a half. Yeah, but we can talk about that. Look at this running time. Get out of here. Okay, go ahead.
That's definitely like, and I'm assuming when he said that, you realize you have no hope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So there are definitely times where you're talking to somebody, right? And they'll bring up a point and they believe that so hard, right? So no matter what you say, you're not going to convince them. And
no,
there's a saying, it's like, it's like there's a race between a dog. There's 4 dogs and one cheetah, I think.
Okay.
And as soon as the race started, all 4 dogs left. The cheetah sitting in the cage.
Yeah, I think I know this proverb.
Why was the cheetah still sitting there? He was like, sometimes it's easier to just not do anything than to try to prove to a dog that you're faster. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no matter what, you know what you know, right? And it could be flipped the same way. He knows what he think he knows, right?
Right.
And he's just like trying to convince them of that the cheetah's faster. It's more of, oh no, it's more embarrassing for the cheetah to try to race against those dogs than to just sit there and know that it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's
right.
That proverb, I love that proverb because
it's a very good proverb. But the thing is, we have the same text. We have the same belief. And I was like, what part of the Bible are you not reading? Like what? No, you don't sin any longer? There's no hell? I was shook. I was like, how? It was beyond.
Yeah.
I see what the point. And I talked to I talked to my father-in-law. I talked to Sophia too about him. And he's been on this point for a while. And they were kind of saying that, there's no point of convincing him. You kind of just, let him live it out. He still believes in Jesus. He's still that. And I wasn't able to. I was like, I don't think that's right. I think you need to educate him. He's wrong. You can't just allow him to believe in this falsehood. You have to, align him in a sense.
It brings it down to, they had a big discussion on such a Maximiana. She brought up the point about what saves. Does Jesus save? Is it saved through faith or through action, right? And we know the Bible, it's written, you're saved through, Jesus and that, but it's also written or saved through works. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's also written that you gotta, you gotta be careful on your works. why would you have to be careful in your works if you don't, you can't sin? There'd be no point to it, right? So I guess maybe he believes in the fact that you're only saved through Christ, right? Regardless of your works. And in that aspect, sure. But again, because they had a really big argument with this. One of the dudes definitely was like, no, you're only saved through faith, through Christ. He was like, you're not saved through works. And I'm like, because then it brings up the point, like, you can do whatever you want, right? You can murder people, you could this, you can that. Doesn't matter. You're saved, right? So I definitely think he does need convincing, because if it is through works, he's not necessarily where he needs to be, right? So just tell him, oh yeah, just let him live it out. He can't agree with that either.
Yeah. But there is that passage that that faith without action is dead faith.
Right.
So that would be a prime example of, like, yes, brother, by faith you are saved, but a faith without action is no faith at all. So you can't choose one and not have the other. You have to have that. The both of them in a balance.
Yeah. But it's tricky, because how old is he?
Oh, he's
He up there?
He's in the age of no going back, kind of, Yeah.
It's tough, right? It's tough because he got his knowledge, right? And he thinks it's solid, and we think our knowledge is solid. I mean, we're 22. Our knowledge is going to just increase for the next, you know what I'm saying? So maybe later on we'll be able to convince him, but like, what good is later on if he's not there anymore, It's
right.
So I definitely think you probably should try to convince him otherwise,
Or I think right now my main goal is going to be to understand his viewpoint, to kind of see where he's coming from, because that's beyond wild.
What passages did he bring up?
Prosperity passages. Yeah, his one of his strong viewpoints was the fact that Jesus died for all sins. Точка. I was like, amen, but let's continue, afterwards, what happened, you still sinned. All the disciples still sinned. They repented. They asked for forgiveness. And
what did he say to that?
And he never answered. He never answered. He just went back to it and then solidified that viewpoint. He died for all sins. I was like, yes, amen. Let's continue. Like, he died. I was like, hey, my guy, somebody's repeating it to himself, and it's not me, I'm trying to continue. But it's crazy.
It's one of those things where, like, it sounds to me like you proved him wrong, and he's been proven wrong before. He just doesn't want to be, so he's just going to go back to, how, like, you'll argue with someone about something that's so stupid, right? Then you'll Google it, and one person's wrong, right? And they'll sit there and they'll read it, they'll be like, and then they'll keep saying what they were saying, you know what I mean? They know they're wrong at this point, but it's just like they're so deep in this hole that it's like.
I think it's what's it called? I think it's kind of like, you believe what you want to believe into. It's so romantic. It's so pleasant that, I can no longer sin. We're all going to heaven. Oh, wow. Fantastic. That's so nice. I wish. But what were you going to say about the brother that
me and Nella this was before me and Nella were even married, right? I think we were getting announced. Yeah, on our announcement. A brother came up to us. He wanted us to sing in the choir, right? And he didn't I don't know who this dude is, right? And he grabs me by the arm and drags me like full out. And I'm sitting here, Jude, because I'm new to their church. I'm about to explode on this older gentleman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then everybody be like, So, but dude, he was like, oh, you guys gonna be singing? I was like looking at him, and I was like, do I just continue what he's saying, or do I mention the fact that, like, don't touch me like that? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but anyway, it was funny when you brought up the whole hand grabbing thing. But
did you? What's it called? Did you find out who he was?
Oh yeah, I know who he was. I don't want to give more in case somebody sees this. You know what I'm saying? So it's
what are the odds somebody sees this, my guy?
I mean, then it could probably be seeing this, like, how dare you talk about him like that? Like, I don't know.
That's fair. Fair. Nah, but I what's it called? One of the main things that I really want to do through this kind of whole discussion and recording it is to have more practice of discussions and not necessarily arguing, but trying to convince somebody or trying to come to a point. Because I think we do need to start doing this more often. We
Mm.
need to. I know when we were together in Knoxville, we were having more practice because we were always together. We always, had many times we even had like not contradicting points, but different point of views, which was
Right.
fantastic because we have very good foundation, I would say. And so we were able to discuss and come to the conclusion as to why we believe this. Why do we, have different views? So that was really nice, and I do think that we need to practice this more often.
For sure.
And through
'Cause
this, I think is one way.
yeah, and it's very nice because like I'm starting or we're trying to start up that discussion group that I wanted to do here. And one of the guys, he's the one who he's like, I'm pretty much like partnering with him, I guess you could say, because we're trying to make the whole thing happen. But he's sitting there and he talks about how he's like open-minded, you know what I mean? He's able to understand other people's points of views. But you can see it's very difficult for him sometimes. Like we were talking about it yesterday, it was just very difficult for him. And I think what's nice about us is if it doesn't, I'm gonna bring up the thing, it doesn't save me or condemn me. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those foundational points.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily care. Like don't care, but it's like, it's not hurting me if you think a different way, right? And I don't think it's going to hurt you if your opinion is different or wrong, right?
Right.
And it's whatever to me, right? For sure.
Beautiful.
There are definitely topics that I'm like talking about where I'm like, I'm probably wrong, but like it makes sense to me. I'm gonna go with it. It's not saving, it's not condemning. So that's just my opinion. we do very well at that. So it's not talking like this very nice.
Okay.
That time's
all right.
up, huh?
Yeah, it is. Do you want to continue or should we call it cut it?
So for me, I don't think Nega's home, but we can definitely save it for another time.
I don't know, because I genuinely have time too. So let's do it one more.
All right, let's do it. I'm down.
All right, bet. All right, give me a minute. I'll holler back.
Sounds good.
All right. Cheers, we're back on. Have you had any kind of interesting discussions with any of the youth? Have you had maybe some stumbling blocks? Maybe somebody is, being a little more stubborn or
That dude that I'm talking about that I'm doing, the group with, like we were talking about, I actually brought up the example of when we were talking about should you change the way we teach Christianity and that type of deal.
Okay,
And
yeah.
he was stuck on no, that it shouldn't change throughout, that it doesn't change. Not that it shouldn't, but it doesn't change. The core stays the same, right? Regardless of how you do it, you're doing it the same way. It just seems different, right? And I brought up, different things like that, but it was fine. One thing I want to mention, I found a verse of the Bible that, remember we were talking about how we can't comprehend an eternal being.
Okay.
Is it Azul?
Okay.
Now I actually found a verse like that. Jesus was talking to the high priest at the time. What's his name? The very popular one.
Nicodemus?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's like John. Pretty much all he says, he's like, he's telling him, like, shouldn't you know this stuff? And then he tells him, he's like, dude, I'm telling you earthly things and you can't comprehend them. How am I supposed to tell you heavenly things and you think you will? You know what I'm saying? So he's literally, Jesus Christ is sitting there saying, he's like, dude, you can barely comprehend human terms. If I even try to talk to you about, eternal terms, you're gone. Just interesting.
Yeah.
We had just been talking about that, right? And then I think they were talking about John or something. I just happened to keep reading throughout it. He mentioned, and I read that thing. I was like, oh, snap. So that was nice. That was nice to see that even Jesus Christ is like, listen,
calm down.
It's biblically like, listen, sometimes y'all just not going to be able to comprehend eternal, wisdom or knowledge.
Right. No, yeah. I was what's it called? I had a couple of discussions with Papa too. And his anytime we come to these situations, he just wants to say because as an answer, but I'm like, no, that's not gonna roll by. And he was like, well, the the rabbis, whenever they come to these situations, they just say because, and the students just take it. I was like, what? Like, no, bro, explain yourself, you know? And then we had the whole discussion of, are we allowed to question God, you know, going back to what we even discussed, you know, are we allowed to ask why, you know?
I
It
mean,
was
look at
just,
Job.
exactly,
All
yeah,
Job did. He asked
yeah.
why, bro. What did I do, right? Because in his mind, he was thinking like his friends. I should have sinned in order to receive this punishment, right? He was
Exactly,
like, but
yeah.
I have been, you know, faithful. I've been at the. Why is he doing this to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a term of like, we don't, like he said, you know, I don't know an eternal being's knowledge. You know, I can't tell you what he's thinking, you know. I mean, we
Yeah.
obviously can, given we had biblical context of what God was thinking at the time. He's like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll send you the video if I can find it. It's this dude, it's like a parody of, you know, Job, right? And he's sitting there and he's talking about it. He was like, man, you know, I got a good life. You know, I got my wife here, got some kids, doing well for myself. And then you hear like thunder, right? And he was like, and he looks up and God's like putting on this hat. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take all that away. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And the guy's like, don't worry, I'll give you double. I'll give you double after. And Job is just like, what do you mean by that? Like my wife and my kids? And God's like, yeah, but don't worry. Like, he's like, how many do you have now? And he was like, I don't know, 2. He's like, I'll give you 4. He's like, but you go kill. He's like, God, what are you talking about right now? You know what I'm saying? He's just like, because it's a genuine human expression at that point.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you though, this is going to be an interesting one because I remember whenever we started doing, well, not just started, but we got deeper into like Genesis, stuff like that, talking about the angel of the Lord.
Oh.
Yeah. During Pascha, you know, whenever Jesus is gone from the tomb, who's sitting on the rock, on the stone? The angel of the Lord. Then there's another angel in there on the right side of the tomb that, you know, ends up telling Mary Magdalene, there you go, that he ain't here, you know what I'm saying? So interesting.
Wait, hold on. It says the angel of the Lord was on the stone, on the tombstone. He was on the tombstone telling the ladies he's not here.
He was just sitting there.
And then another angel was telling the ladies.
There's a different angel inside. I could be tripping, but when I was listening to the sermon and reading that text, maybe in the moment I was tripping, but that's what it said. Dude. Let's look it up and confirm it. But that's what it was really interesting because I thought of you immediately. I was like, wait a minute. From everything we've gathered.
Exactly,
like,
right?
We think it's one way, but that would kind of, maybe not, you know, maybe it would.
Okay, but let's hypothetically say that, you know, that text was
text.
Right, what it says in the text. In that case, maybe it wasn't Jesus, but maybe it's the Holy Spirit.
Could be. Maybe it's the angel of the Lord. Could be just God in a semi-human form, in a body,
in an angelic form, kind of.
In an entity. I'll go with that, right? So, like, let's say when he was walking with Abraham, it says that nobody has seen God, whether it be, you know, Moses, whether it be, and he hasn't, you know, walked the earth. Let's say it's this angel of the Lord, right? But it's God in this entity's body. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I would want to, but
Okay.
when we look at the bush, the fiery bush, we don't see that because we see that the Lord finished his conversation and left, but there was yet a being there, which was the angel of the Lord. So
maybe they swap, you know?
Oh, what?
Yeah, like the angel of the Lord could just be like, you know, Jesus sometimes. Because like you said, maybe it's the Holy Spirit, right? Maybe it was Jesus up at this point, and then
the Holy Spirit took over.
Yeah, and he's just like, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they swap. Maybe when he was walking with Abraham, he was actually God in the body of the angel of the Lord.
I don't think we have them swapping. I think they have their distinct entities, you know?
Yeah.
Where we had the Lord, God, then we had Jesus, and then we have the Holy Spirit, you know? we don't see them kind of interchanging. That would be very odd. But just talk about the Trinity in itself is very hard.
It's a deep hole.
Complicated.
It's a deep hole.
It really is,
Yeah.
because we are told that they're all in one and yet separate. The best kind of example that I heard was 3 different type of metals being melted. You look in that pot and you only see the melted metal. It's all united. It's literally a ball, but within that is 3 separately different metals. So then when like looking at the bush of fire, maybe in that pot it was melted. They're all one. But even then, in the passages we see the Lord spoke, and there was the angel of the Lord within that. So yeah,
It's tricky. It's tricky. I'll find the verse. I'm pretty sure it's in Matthew.
Send it.
Yeah, where it's actually like written, where she goes there and the angel of the Lord just sits on the tombstone, because he was on like the actual the stone, right? Not on the actual tomb. And then inside, then she like walked in, because he like tells her like go in or something like that. And she goes in, and there was another one that was sitting there. Was like, he ain't here. Go tell everyone. And she just dips, So that's how I got it. Let's look it up, because I feel like that's something you probably would have caught on by now. You know what I mean? But like,
No, I low-key think so too.
Right,
It could have slipped. It could have slipped.
Right. Because I was reading it. I was like, ain't no way Mark missed that. That's but it was definitely interesting, because that brings up a
whole different thing.
That's
I'm about to lose myself again in.
Who this man? Who this angel, bro? Like, it's definitely interesting.
It's also interesting the hierarchy of the spiritual realm, how all the angels even have their kind of levels of responsibility, and it's absolutely wild. And it makes no sense, but at the same time there has to be order, has to be levels. So and it, like you said, some things are just hard for us to understand, but dude, I want to, I'm going to. Like, you better tell me now or I'm gonna die wanting to, like. But
at least maybe you'll have the answer after,
Yeah, after
death comes, you might know, bro. You might have some knowledge.
Let's talk a little bit about the eternal life. Okay. What do you think we're gonna know it all? Everything will be like, basically, you've accomplished life. You got a check mark. You're done. Now you're just in heaven.
I definitely think we will know more than we know now. Just immediately. Sure. Not like, we have to learn it, right? We would just know more than we do. Maybe it's the whole, like, we only use 2% of our brain or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and then we die, we be born, and we use 100% of our brain at that point. Maybe something like that. But I don't think we will ever be on the level of, we have the knowledge of God, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, would there definitely be more to learn, more questions for sure, maybe. I don't think we will ever know fully everything, even in heaven or on the second earth, whatever. So I don't think we will know it all.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting kind of
like
topic.
I feel like you don't want to.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, like when Adam and Eve were created, in this kind of like heavenly space, they clearly didn't know everything. They were out there exploring, they were out there creating, they were out there, doing all that. And to take that away from being's life, I think that's literally taking away its meaning, We're told, like, what are we gonna do in eternity? We're just gonna worship, right?
That's fair. But I'd like to think of the whole Adam and Eve thing of them not necessarily being like blinded to it, but being innocent to it. For example, you take a baby and they walk around naked, they don't see nothing wrong with it. As soon as they grow up and receive more knowledge, that's when they're like, hey, wait, this ain't right. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like at that point, before they ate the apple, they were just very innocent because there was no sin. So regardless of what was going on, to them in their own heads, it was all right because they haven't done anything bad. They were innocent.
Right.
They ate that apple and then they had that little bit more knowledge. And they're like, oh, snap, bro, cover yourself. You know what I mean? they weren't necessarily thinking about that up until they had a little bit more knowledge. So I feel like, I don't know, but that kind of brings it to the question, like, when we have more knowledge, would that equate to more sin, you know? But,
Exactly. But going back to Adam and Eve, you know, I can't say it's evident or scriptural, but we do kind of see this hint of that this quote unquote forbidden knowledge, you know, knowledge of good and bad, it was going to be revealed to them, but it was going to be revealed to them on God's time instead of their own, you know, where they kind of took it for themselves. God was going to give it to them, you know. So I think in a sense we might have something like that, you know, except we won't have that choice of, you know, taking, or maybe we won't want to. We'll kind of just allow him to slowly reveal it to us. But
yeah, it's definitely so many possibilities, right? I don't necessarily know if I would want to just immediately know it all too. I feel like I'd want to discuss it rather than just, I'd want to have my own opinions, right? I don't know, are there going to be opinions?
There has to.
Why? If we know all, if we're at the set point, you know what I mean? We've reached this point where we've gone through sin, we've gone through everything, we get these new bodies, we are holier, you know what I'm saying? I feel like opinions only bring disconnection, you know what I'm saying? I can't really say an opinion would bring a connection. So especially if we're there where it's like, we're all supposed to be one.
Okay. What about the fact of, you know, not society, but levels of a society bring this connection to can we agree that? But we are told that there's going to be levels in heaven.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a very good point. But at the same time, well, all right, in that case, it's already going to be a disconnection there because we're all going to be on different levels, you know?
Yeah. It could just
There's
be like, good.
there's a guy that I tried reading at one point called Swedenborg. He well, it don't matter, but he had this book called The Heavens, and I think it was The Heavens, and he was talking about how in heaven there's going to be communities that you're going to be kind of pulled into the people that think like you. You're going to be kind of in your own inner circle, you know. So it's definitely like a very out there point of view, but it is a point of view to think about. But we are told that there are levels, so we do know that much.
It's just interesting because, like, in my point of view, I feel like we, you know, in my opinion, I feel like if we go up there and we all have our own separate opinions, you know what I mean? Like, we have the facts. We have this knowledge now. There's no opinion, right? You can't, that's like, again, like saying 2 + 2 is 7. Like, you can't even say that. It's 4, right? That's not an opinion, it's a fact. So once we have these facts, where are we supposed to be making opinions from?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd just be very difficult for, again, I can't comprehend that. Having an opinion after I know knowledge, after I have knowledge. So it's, yeah, definitely. And start bringing groups of, you know what I mean, other people that think like you.
There's, geez.
Yeah, I mean, would we all think the way that?
You would hope not.
Well, I mean, you would hope you would. You know what I'm saying? You would hope that everybody at that point, maybe it's the fact that we will be, you know, like me and you, like if somebody has a different opinion, I feel nothing. I don't feel hatred towards them. I don't feel right. Maybe
we just have curiosity.
Yeah, maybe everybody would be like that. Like, oh snap, you do? All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, at that point, it's not going to save you or condemn you either. You know what I mean? Because
right. So there is no condemning.
Right, we're done. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, you know how sometimes you're like overfilled with love for somebody that even though they have like a different point of view, you're just like, I love you so much that this point of view, like, you know, we can kind of say that to our wives. You know, we love them so much that their point of views many times we think is wrong. It has no effect on our love. You know, we still love them to death. So maybe it's kind of like that. I guess maybe. But the other thing that I do want to talk about, like when it comes to the whole heaven thing, not heaven. I apologize. The second earth, the new earth. I do think that we're going to be creating at all times. You know how we now create technologies, how we advance our life. I for some reason feel like we're gonna have that in the second Earth. I feel like there's gonna be exploration. I feel like there's gonna be creating, whether it be like not technologies, but like a form of creation, because naturally, I think we are as beings are have this creativity and we want to create. We want to do what God does because we're made in His likeness. But I think, and I for sure, like 100% think this is that whatever we are gonna do, whatever we're gonna create, it's not gonna have this evil aspect, like we make technologies and at the same time we use that technology to bomb people, we use that technology to kill people. Now it's going to be like that technology is going to be so beautiful that it will have no evil in it.
No, I mean, have you seen movies where these uh, aliens or they've evolved to a higher level and they all function at one wavelength?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So they
yeah,
all do everything simultaneously, but they have different sections, right? Let's say these people are exploring this while these people are doing that. But if they're like moving through traffic, they're going not like, stopping for one person, but they're moving like this to where they
yeah,
cross each other at the same time because they know nothing is going to hit them, nothing bad's going to happen. Maybe it's like that, where we
yeah.
have no more sin. We're just all functioning at 100% level, doing what we want to do, right?
That's crazy.
It's something we can't comprehend, right?
Yeah,
It's one of those things. It's kind of like AI functioning with other AI. They're just doing it at the same time without bumping into each other, right? Maybe it's something like that. And that would bring in that dude's point where you're in different groups where you think the same. Maybe he's talking about creativity, you know what I mean? Some people
yeah,
like to go on hikes and they go and watch this nature, and people like the sea and that type of thing,
yeah.
People like welding.
Oh,
I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
there's definitely not going to be a sea in the second heaven.
You don't think
For
so?
some reason,
Why not?
I think we're going to get rid of the oceans, dog. I think at most we're going to have lakes and
Do you
rivers.
think the second Earth will have animals?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I mean, why wouldn't we ever see it? Like the Garden of Eden? Adam can
Wow.
control these animals, these fish.
Okay, the Garden of Eden. Do we have an ocean? We have a river.
Okay, well, why if we had a let's say river, let's call it. You can have a big river.
Big difference, my guy. Oceans are freaky. Like there's something ungodly in oceans. A river? A river is innocent and it brings
You can't say it's
life.
ungodly. He made that. You know what I'm saying? You can't say
He no, when the world was formless and void,
it was
what was
already
there?
water. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly. And he
See what you're
said,
saying.
"No, this is ungodly. I will create life." Boom, Earth.
But- Okay, when it was nothing in a void of water, who created that void of water?
Right, he did, but it was clearly not good. It was not good.
Oh,
He
it
didn't
was
say,
not-
"And this
okay.
is good." No, he said, "I'm gonna continue. This is a good,
This
scratch."
right here bad. This
Yeah,
bad. I ain't doing this
exactly.
again. Like
And what's it called in Egyptian theology? The theology in Egyptian mythology. Scratch that. In Egyptian mythology, there's this god called Ra, and
okay.
he created himself, quote unquote. He created himself. So he was in everything was dark. Everything kind of felt like pressured, and all he heard is Ra, and then that's how he created himself. He became himself. Then he kind of lifted himself out of the waters. That was what the depth was, and the no, possible baby. That's what the what's it called? That's what the depth was. The pressure, it was all water, and he looked in the depths of the water. And he was like, nah, and then he created land. And then what's interesting is, and I don't know if every passage or every scripture in their kind of sense has this origin story, but then there was a voice above him that said, that you are the beginning to create everything. So while he was the first god, he's called Amun Ra, the god of gods. He's like kind of there on the hierarchy. He's the main god. Above him was a voice that told him to begin everything. So I was like, okay, wait a minute.
No,
But
it's
it was just,
interesting.
it is
You could
interesting.
look,
It's
you could
very
look into
interesting.
like Marvel. They have gods and stuff like that. But then they have Eternals who are before the gods, and you have this like the
What are Eternals?
they're the ones that like created these gods or something like that.
Really?
No, the Eternals are created by this other thing that were to protect the humans from the separation of the other part of the Eternals that were the evil ones. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like mythology and all that type of stuff has so many layers, right? I mean, you can think about it the same way. You got God, and then you got, us, angels, whatever.
Everything else.
All the other types of angels, right? So imagine the amount of layers that we don't know yet.
There has to be. There has to be. I was gonna say, what's it called? Do you by any chance have any kind of, not necessarily suspicion, do you believe that all of this mythology kind of maybe is related or sums up to anything? I have a viewpoint that I don't know if it's popular or not, but I want to kind of hear you out.
For sure. I mean, you look at, like, let's say Thor or Odin, and what's the other one?
Which one?
He's literally the opposite of Odin in the other religion.
Odin, the opposite of Odin in the other religion?
Yeah. Dude, what's his name? Anyway, I feel
Zeus?
There you go.
Zeus?
There you go. Yeah. He's
okay.
Literally Zeus and Odin, right?
Okay, but these are two different religions, right? We have
but they're
Norse
all
and then Greek.
They're all almost connected. And you see all these other people who have the same exact abilities or the gods of this exact thing. They're all the same, right?
Yeah.
Well, not all exactly the same, but for the majority,
very similar.
Sounds like broken telephone. He's talking about one god, and they're like, "Oh, he does this with this little twist." You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like they're definitely all connected.
So then, to that, would that kind of prove their being? That clearly it's not just some made up story?
I don't say so, because we don't have necessarily like eyewitness accounts, but I can't say we have an eyewitness account of God, you know what I'm saying? Other than like Moses,
you capping, dog.
But we have eyewitness accounts of Jesus, right? So like, I mean, if we talk about who has more, textual criticism, then we have to go with Jesus Christ rather than Odin, So,
right.
But no, it's a good question, one that I have got an answer to, but it's a very good question.
You know what I kind of came to, and not necessarily a conclusion, but like lean towards. I believe in all of these like different mythologies and these different gods. I believe that they are like beings and that they are gods, but our God is above all of them. He's the God of gods. So I think that these other kind of beings that these kind of nations or group of people worshipped were just angels. But these angels kind of deceived humanity in thinking that they're gods,
I've thought of something similar.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I've thought about what if the reason there is, all these nations, all these cultures back in the day believed in this, and they're all similar.
Yeah.
Would be because maybe they are, like you're saying, real. It's just God is the highest of the high, right? He's one of these. He's the one they all answer to, right?
Yeah.
The one that created them, because even in Norse mythology, like most of these beings were created by other beings or other gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
It brings that to the point where like Odin, God of gods, and Zeus, the God of gods. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, would that necessarily be God himself? You know what I mean?
No, because we have in Odin, he basically like gave birth to all the other gods, and in their mythology, he like physically, had a union with a human being, and we actually, depending on how you view it, in our own theories, we see that the fallen angels had maybe something physical with the humanity.
I wouldn't even go maybe, bro. I'm dead.
Hey, you say,
that, bro.
Honestly, I do too, dog. I do too. But go to your pastor and tell him that. Go to another brother and tell him that. They're gonna look at you like.
I talked to my dad. My dad was like,
"Nah."
Yeah, bro.
And he said, "What? Like that's a good point."
No, he was like, "Yeah."
Oh, he believes it too.
Yeah. I mean, he's my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you say that. I talked to Papa. Papa's like, "You're literally retarded. You're crazy. There's no way."
Literally,
I was like, "Cheers."
The what's called that Well, I guess not. I wouldn't say written.
Yeah, it's not
You
written.
got
If it
you
was
got
written,
you got to
we'd
put
all
a few
believe
dots
it.
together. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
But these dots are very obvious. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna go with
No, but yeah,
80% sure.
yeah.
No,
I believe it
make
too.
sure. I'll make sure. I'll talk to Pops. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he was with that for sure.
Yeah, but what's it called? That's not a very common belief in our faith. The whole fallen
No,
angels thing.
for everyone I've talked about that I like bring this up, it's very easy for them to believe. Surprisingly.
Really?
For some reason, I don't know why. Because back in the day, I used to think that when there was a fall, it was just the devil. I didn't think there were
Oh,
his associates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The squad.
yeah, the whole
But-
team.
Right, because I would skip over it. I didn't really, when I was reading to read because rather force rather than want. And when I was reading it, you just kind of I
Whatever.
didn't really get much, right? But then
Yeah.
once you start reading, you see all this fall. So back in the day, I think it was definitely, if you were to say that to me, I'd be like, July. No, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna believe that. But
Right.
now it's like, dude,
What is this heresy?
lots of stuff we don't know, right? And these dots, I mean, they're pretty common. It's like the point that you can say they're the two, right? So I feel like now that we're a lot older and we're talking to people about this stuff, they're like, hey, yeah, could be, right? Like whatever.
Yeah, for real.
So it's definitely easier for us to believe nowadays than it is back in the day.
Yeah, I remember when we were younger, like we were doing the whole Genesis Bible study. We were going through it, and we came to this passage, and I think it was Lada that brought it up. She was like, "There's this different point of view, and I want to hear your guys' kind of viewpoint on it." And I like paused myself, and I didn't want to tell them because it's a very radical viewpoint at that time. Well, it still is. So I was like, yeah, so that's definitely another kind of viewpoint, but in
She brought this up.
yeah, she said that there's these beings, Nephilims, that some people believe that the fallen angels had intercourse with human females and came up Nephilims. How do you guys view it? And I was like, Lada, that's a good point. It's a very good, interesting view. But in our faith, many of our kin believe that the Nephilim were a whole different being, like a kind of creation. That they had nothing to do with the fallen angels. That this said that when the sons, what did it say? When the sons of men came upon the women, so some of them said, what was it?
The sons
I
of
can't
God.
remember. Yeah. Yes.
Sons of God.
Sons of God, yeah, came on the women, and in the common belief.
This is those women gave birth to great men. Whatever you take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the people, not the people, but our people, majority of them, believe that that's the lineage of Seth, the son of God.
Okay.
And the great people are I don't know, people of God or whatever. But point being, at that time I was like, so there's 2 point of views. I can't say what's mine, but just kind of do your own due diligence.
I mean, I bet a lot they got lots of them.
Diligence.
I bet a lot got lots of them with Gamma and all that. I feel like Gamma got some. I mean,
Gamma's also very interesting. Oh my gosh, this nigga.
Same thing with pizza. They all. That's where Gotti gets it from. Remember that one time period where Gotti would stay up till like 4 or 5 a.m. Just conspiracy theories. You know what I mean?
For pizza?
No, on YouTube. It's like Saturday. Yeah. It's like Saturday morning or Saturday night, right? 5 a.m. Sunday morning. He's like, text us. Have y'all heard of this? I'm waking up in the middle of the night with all these texts.
Nah, it was beautiful, dude. It was nice.
They just love that stuff, right? I can't say we don't,
All right, for sure, dude, bro. Conspiracy, that's my type of language.
Exactly. That's what I tell everybody. The people that I was talking to about this group, I was like, guys, there will be some stuff that I'm gonna say, very controversial to you guys. I was like, I don't care if you believe me or not, right? That's not what this is about. It's about discussing. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be a straight Bible study. I want us to come with a topic that we all look into, you know what I mean? Come up with our own thought process, our own opinions based on it, based on textual scripture, based on, stuff we find online, based on, I don't know, whatever. Come up with your own opinion based on us talking through, right? Let's
Right.
learn together. And every time I would say controversial, they would they get a little uncomfortable.
A little tense.
Yeah, you know, say, guys, listen, most of the time it's not going to be like I'm not going to bite your head off. It's going to be the process of like, do you think, like I brought up do you think Christianity, like the way we teach should change? I was like, I don't think that's very controversial. I think it's just an opinion based, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, so I was like,
yeah.
so, but it definitely, Garik definitely had a lot of them where it was like,
Yeah.
but we all did. But
For
the
sure.
raccoon, or not raccoon people, what were the lizard people?
The lizard people, bro.
And, yeah, some people like they believe, bro. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Just
Who am I to
with
say?
the little eye thing, dude. I don't know, man.
That was freaky.
Yeah.
That was definitely what's it called? That was definitely meant for its own time. But now we're past that.
Yeah. Now we think of other conspiracy theories.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like fallen angels having sex with women, you know, creating great men, aka giants. You know. Yeah. Take it as you will.
The great men of the renowned time or something like that, bro. And you know how often that's mentioned in other different religions?
Oh, yeah.
Bro.
But I mean, even in the Bible, it says great men, and then it refers to the giants, right? So that's why when we look at it, we're like,
yeah,
these great men.
Yeah,
So,
you start.
That's what I'm saying. These dots are very, like they have like a dotted line that's going to another one. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a full line, but it's just pretty clear where it's going.
You got one, you got two, you got three. We did this as children. Connect them.
One circle is the number one, the other is the number two, bro. So
yeah,
I'd like to think that that's more facts than fiction, but to each their own, for sure.
To each their own.
Yeah.
Nah, that's mad odd.
I definitely have I think I have some other topics in the notebook, but I feel like we should probably do that for next time. Like I'll bring a notebook to church. Whenever I hear something, I'll be like, I'll like play devil's advocate to them too. I'll bring it into a question rather than a statement that they're saying. So
that's good.
Maybe next time I should actually pull it out because I have no clue where I put it. So
we should, yeah.
I
think that'd be good.
Yeah, we're coming up to about 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we should.
Your things about pop up 10 minutes left.
Yeah, I know. Well, honestly, dude. Okay, so this is what I think it is. I think when it's a group, it pops up, but when it's one-on-one, I'm good to go for hours.
It's a good point. How long have we been up on this one?
Oh, if I knew how to freaking check. I don't know, but it's I think like 30 minutes. We've been like 30 minutes. So yeah, it should have been. It should have popped up already. But okay, I'm gonna have to find out how to upgrade it.
Sounds good.
And then the other thing, I'm gonna need to find out how to edit to connect the freaking 3 different,
I think you have Movie Maker on your laptop. I think it comes with Mac, or it's in the App Store.
Yeah, I'll look into it and then just edit it. Yeah, that won't be too bad. Okay, let's next time then notebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we shoot for next Thursday.
We've definitely talked about some of the stuff that's in the notebook, but I feel like there were some other ones that I just not in my mind
we should.
anymore, so.
And I'm sure throughout the week other thoughts will come. There's plenty.
Yeah.
Has to. Yeah. Okay then. Yeah. Let's shoot for next Thursday then. Yeah.
We'll try next Thursday. Yeah. No,
all right, G. Hey, and I'll talk to Emik. He's also interested. So we just have to find a time for him. It's when he's available because he's always busy. So
yeah,
hopefully he'll hop on eventually. That'd be real nice.
Yeah.
That'd be real nice.
That would be.
Okay, sure, brother. Blessings, humbleness.
You too.
Давай. Stay fresh. Давай, с Богом. Thank you all for staying. Cheers. Stay blessed, stay humble.